Hey y'all, welcome to the Coyote Trapping School podcast. In this episode, I wanted to give kind of a rundown of, there's a lot of anti-hunting and anti-trapping activity going on across the nation, legislation-wise is what I'm getting at. And I've been meaning to try to, kind of go through. I'm getting emails and I see stuff on line, and I've been wanting to kind of do a rundown of that. And I've just been honestly too lazy to put it all into one place. And then I just got an email from my buddy Jeff Trainer at Furbearer Conservation, and man, he did exactly that. Just kind of did a bullet point line item of all the stuff that's been going on in the states that have brought things up, or the places where things have been brought up. And so I was just going to kind of run through this just to reiterate that, this trapping is not a right. Hunting is not a right. No matter what we think, it's a privilege that we, hopefully can continue to be able to do. And in order to do that, we've got to be paying attention. None of this legislative stuff and contacting our representatives and being a voice is something that we really want to do. As trappers and hunters, we kind of want to lay back in the shadows and kind of keep to ourselves. But this is situations where we can't afford to do that, because if we do, our privileges are going to be taken away from us by well-meaning but uneducated people. And so I was just going to take a minute to kind of run through these and see if I thought I saw another one somewhere about California, and just doing a quick. I'll run through Jeff's thing here, and then I'll try to see if I can find that again. But topping off, if you can imagine, New York, they had legislation, and this has been something that's gone around a lot of states, and I think what tends to happen is the anti-groups will kind of single out an item, and they'll take it to some of the states, maybe the more liberal states, where they think they can get that agenda item passed, and then from there they'll use that as a basis to go around to other states and try to get folks on the bandwagon. And so I think that's what we're seeing here, because a lot of the legislation I've seen is around banning hunting contests, and a lot of it, from what I've seen, especially out west, is around coyote contests. They're pretty big, where you'll have a weekend coyote calling contest, coyote calling championship, and so guys will get together and they'll go out and they'll just put on an all-out, all-day hunt, killing coyotes, and then come in and tally them, and you have a winner and all that. And you and I know that they're not killing all the coyotes, they're not impacting the populations, because this stuff's been going on for years. But that's an easy thing for somebody to cling on to and say, well, this is unregulated, or this is irresponsible, and we need to put a stop to this. And the one thing, so the Sportsmen's Alliance is a place I follow on Instagram that where I've seen some of this information. And one of the things that they highlighted in a write-up about these trying to ban these contests is how that's a step towards banning field trials and different things like that. And that's what this New York legislation is, would ban any sort of hunting contest, which includes field trials and hunt tests with waterfowl and upland birds, as well as coyote calling competitions and things like that. And that's one thing that, again, they don't come at this head on and make the whole hunting community mad. They single out the antis, they single out coyote contests, and so none of the bird hunters pay any attention to that. But yet, if they can get the coyote hunting contest banned, well, then that kind of sets a precedent for why are any of these other hunting contests allowed. And so that's something there again too, is you've got to keep an eye on that, and keep in mind that the people that are pushing this are not idiots. They know how government works, and they know how legislation works, and they know how to use and manipulate things to get what they're after. So there, New York banning hunting contests. Tennessee would authorize municipalities to regulate the use of baited traps within its jurisdictions. So really, there again, you're taking wildlife management away from the people that are the experts, the DNR, the State Wildlife Management Agency, and you're putting it in politicians' hands, and that doesn't make sense for the wildlife. It only makes sense for people who have got their own personal agenda. New Jersey, no shocker, ban coyote hunting, ban all hunting contests, such as organized coyote hunting, but even field trials. They also introduced a bill that would prohibit anyone under the age of 18 from receiving a trapping license, comparing young licensed trappers to the Columbine shooters. So that makes you feel real good, doesn't it? And that, one thing that New Jersey has been in and out of the news about for years is their bear hunt, and all that is right after their governor signed a executive order ending the bear hunt on public lands. So they get a little foothold and they just push for more and more and more. And if they see that they've got a governor, a government structure that kind of can be complicit to get their motive and their agendas accomplished, keep on rolling, keep on pushing. Connecticut, let's see, they've got a bill seeking to end regulated trapping activities and stop the expansion of hunting activities. I don't know what exactly that is, and that's another thing that's kind of screwy about this stuff is, man, these bills can be hundreds of pages long, which is ridiculous that anybody's making laws that are hundreds of pages long for the most part, but that's our government in action. Oregon, again, ban all hunting contests, even field trials. And it wasn't until sportsmen voiced their opposition that the bill was scaled back to focus just on coyote hunting contests. So they're trying to set a precedent, in my interpretation. I'm no legal or expert or anything like that. New Mexico banned coyote contests or any competition associated with coyotes. And that one's passed the New Mexico Senate. And so we'll see where that goes. They've also introduced a bill which would ban the use of traps, snares, conibears, and foothold traps on public land. And I want to say Arizona already has a ban on, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say Arizona already has a ban on using traps on public land. So that's two big chunks there. Wisconsin, banning any type of hunting contest in the state, which would be field trials and even could impact big buck competitions, which is a big thing anywhere where there's deer hunting. That one, if you're harvesting bucks, you're not impacting the deer population, and two, if you're harvesting big mature deer, that's exactly what you want to harvest. And let the there's no logic in this. Montana, they had a bill. I think the bill had already failed, but they had a bill introduced that would make it illegal to participate in contests, again, coyotes, foxes, and wolves. There's also a bill seeking to ban trapping and hunting of wolves in the management zones near Yellowstone National Park, which is absurd because there's already plenty of wolves in Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. They're supporting a sustainable harvest now. So why did those areas in the epicenter of where the populations are expanding from need to be protected? Florida, they've got black bears, and with the black bear population on the rise, they're actually trying to put the black bear on the endangered species list, which doesn't make any sense. I worked and lived in North Florida for a while, and there's no shortage of black bears there. Baiting for deer hunting is legal there, and you knew if there were bears in the area because you'd see a tree with a feeder on it, and there'd be boards with nails all the way around the tree trying to keep the bears out of there. Again, this stuff goes back to no wildlife management mindset or background. It's just pushing what makes me feel good. Nebraska, prevent mountain lions from being hunted in the state. New Hampshire. Let's see. So they've got a bill which would reclassify large breeders as pet vendors, and that would encompass dog kennels especially, and require inspection, additional licensing. And they've also got legislation to close the current coyote hunting season in the state. And I don't know how New Hampshire is. Most of the northeastern states, again, that's probably the least, outside of California, that's probably the least real wildlife management friendly place there is. Vermont would define wanton waste of wildlife as intentionally leaving wounded or killed game, fur-bearing species, wild birds, or other wildlife in the field or forest without making a reasonable effort to consume them. And that sounds reasonable. This is Jeff's response. That sounds reasonable, but who defines what reasonable is, and isn't a reasonable effort? And even the State Fish and Wildlife Agency has testified that legislation is not warranted. Because I mean, any law-abiding hunter does what they can to retrieve the game that they are pursuing. Let's see, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts trying to get the legal ability to hunt on Sundays in their respective state. And I guess that's not really, that's sportsmen and women are trying to be able to get hunting of Sundays passed. I guess they're meeting a lot there. I guess they're having good luck achieving that. And then there's grizzlies in Yellowstone. There's lynx. There's wolves that are all trying to be. In a lot of cases, the government is trying to declassify them as an endangered species, which opens the door to management, which could open the door to legal hunting and trapping and lethal managing of that resource. But as we all know, there's a lot of people that think grizzly bears are cute and cuddly, and they don't want to see anybody kill them. But they also live in New York and don't have to deal with the ramifications of those grizzly bears preying on livestock or digging through their trash or anything like that. So let me see if I can find the other. Let's see, here we go, right here. New York introduces bill to ban the sale of fur. Lawmaker introduces bill banning sale of fur coats in New York. And actually, it's not related to all fur. But California has actually got some bans. California's got some really screwy wildlife laws anyways. But they've got some bans on things, and they've got more coming down the pipe, I think in maybe next year. So right now it's illegal to import certain things, even leather goods and leather products, like alligator and crocodile, I think is what will get banned effective next year. But it's and the bad thing about that is, here we are trying to promote and encourage the use of this sustainable resource, and then you got people that are trying to ban the sale of it, and especially in a place like New York, where there's people that are affluent enough that can buy fur coats, and it's actually cool enough that they can wear them. But let's see. But this assembly member in Manhattan has introduced a bill stating that the fur trade is falling out of favor as consumers become more aware of the treatment of animals. And well, if the fur trade's falling out of favor with consumers, then it's going to go by the wayside itself due to simple economics, right? Supply and demand. If there's no demand, then supply is going to go away. But that's where we're being Big Brother helping you, because you don't know enough to live for yourself, right? Let's see, it does say here that the bill has already received pushback. The legislation is following the Animal Rights Handbook, and they're trying to eliminate all animal use. And that's Steve Coyote, the co-owner of Coyote Furs and Madison Avenue Furs. And there you go, like, you know, that's Madison Avenue. He's a downtown New York City probably fur retailer. So that's I just wanted to throw all that out there, reiterate that these aren't rights that we're granted to having to hold from this day forward. Man, we've got to protect and fight for our ability to keep on doing what we're doing, and you know, part of that's through respectful and responsible use of social media, and you know, we gotta, as much as everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon of, well, we can't give in, we've got to, you know, we got just as much right to show what we can. That's not. We do have that right. I say right loosely, but we might want to think about how we exercise it, because we can be shooting ourselves right in the foot if we're not careful. And like I wished I'd have thought about it before. A couple weeks ago, I had a post on Instagram. I don't remember what it was now, but I started wondering. I started getting all kinds of PETA comments and anti-comments, just ridiculous things on all kinds of different posts, and I didn't know what was going on. I've had that happen before. You know, somebody will run across my stuff and they'll share it or something like that with their anti-group, and I'll get all kinds of just ridiculous messages and stuff. And I was trying to figure out where it was coming from, because usually I can track it down, and I was blocking people left and right. And I finally figured out some trapper had tagged PETA in a comment and said, I'm not with PETA, I just like showing them stuff or something. And it's like, man, and I deleted that comment before I even had a chance or thought about responding to that guy. For one, I don't want to deal with all that BS and all the just ridiculous, outrageous comments of people threatening to kill me and my family and all that. Like, I don't want to deal with that. And for two, we don't need to be poking bears in the eye. We don't need to go out and look for trouble. You know, there's no sense in making making a post and then tagging anti-groups just to egg things on, because that does nothing but put a black eye in our, you know, we need to be the ones that are voicing our opinions, and also voicing the data and the facts that we have to back up why we do what we do, but do it in a respectful and responsible manner, and not just and one thing I also, you know, kind of my perspective, this is my opinion, but especially, you know, I'll see folks, I'll have folks that make a comment or reply to one of my posts, and kind of maybe an anti person, or maybe just kind of an on the fence person, and it's easy, and mine, admittedly, a lot of other people's first reaction is to get real defensive and you know, don't you know this is the right way to do it, and I think if we took the time and kind of approach it educationally wise and saying, hey, do you know why we do what we do? Do you know that regardless of whether trapping is outlawed or not, somebody's going to come in and kill the beavers, kill the deer, kill the coyotes that are causing issues? Whether that's the federal government that we're going to subsidize with our tax dollars, or the state government that again we're subsidizing with our tax dollars, or whether it's a private contractor that's coming in and making a lot of money, where trappers could have done that through the trapping season and actually been an asset. Now you're turning something into a liability where we got to pay, or that landowner, that homeowner, that government, municipality, whatever, is having to pay somebody to do this job that somebody else was willing to do, but because that's the just not fly off the handle and get defensive, but try to show a little, I don't know, kindness, a little control, and not like I say, not not go crazy and just start trying to beat people over the head with, this is why we do this, we can do this, don't you know? But try to kind of educate them a little bit about why we do what we do. Some people, they ain't gonna get it, and those people I'll just block and not worry about it. But some people, I actually had a guy a couple weeks ago that messaged me in Instagram, and he was asking about one of my posts, and it was one of my trapping posts, and he said, hey, I'm not an anti or anything, but I was just curious. He lives in California, and he said, I saw your post about, and I can't remember what it was. It was some of my furs from my catcher anyway. And he said, I'm just curious about what you're doing. And so I had a dialogue with him back and forth. That, we're not just out killing this stuff to throw it in the woods, but we're actually, using this as a resource, and we're trying to manage, and we're working with state agencies, and there's oversight over what we're doing. We're not just out here going rogue and trapping and killing things because we like to see blood. And it was a good conversation, and I think that guy has a different perspective, and that's what we gotta shoot for. We gotta shoot for swaying those 90% of people in the middle, and don't worry about those 5% of the people that are far on the other side. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. But I did want to kind of highlight that trapping and hunting, I don't know why all this is maybe a new legislative cycle, I guess, but things are definitely under attack right now, and we need to be diligent and paying attention to this kind of thing. So if you're not already, go check out Furbearer Conservation. It's furbearerconservation.com. On Facebook, I don't know if he's on Facebook, but I know he's on Instagram, and then, like I said, furbearerconservation.com. He's got the blog. You can sign up and get email updates. But that's Jeff Trainer. I interviewed him on the podcast. It's been a couple months ago now, but a good guy up there in the Northeast, where a lot of these issues are coming online, and he's out there trying to back up what we're doing with data and scientific evidence and prove our point. So go follow him. Also, check out Sportsmen's Alliance. Follow them to stay updated on what's going on as well. And Sportsmen's Alliance, your local Trappers Association, if you got a state Wildlife Federation or something like that, all these folks are out there kind of on the front lines trying to lobby and volley for us. So if you're not a member of those, I would definitely encourage it, because these anti-groups have deep pockets, and we need, we gotta support our folks, because sometimes it boils down to just he who has the most money, and trappers don't usually have the most money. But if we've got some money and the most science, maybe we stand a chance. But anyway, hope y'all's spring, I guess, is here. Hope y'all spring is going well, and maybe you're getting geared up to go fishing or shoot a turkey. I am hopefully going to do a little bit of both of those. But anyway, we'll catch you next time.